Every night at 2:13 a.m., a woman in white glides down an empty staircase, never noticing the living. Is it a ghost or just a memory trapped in stone? Welcome back to Is This Real? I'm JC3, and tonight we kick off this episode of Season 17, our all-ghost season, with one of our strangest kinds of spirit stories, Residual Hauntings. Big Joe, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program.
Tony, say hello.
Good evening.
Roadblock, say hello.
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody?
Roadblock is actually on camera tonight. He has no job whatsoever, no audio, and he's not just going to be playing Pokemon Go while we're recording.
Bitch, you know what I'm about, okay?
Well, the whole crew is here, except for Cito and Wes, but, they have jobs and lives. Gentlemen, are you ready to dive into some of the echoes of the past? So, for people new to this, give us a quick definition. What exactly is a residual haunting? We'll go to you, Big Joe. What do you believe a residual haunting is?
What I believe it to be, basically, is a energy trapped in certain areas. And I don't know why. I can't say I do, but it's like a picture that keeps playing over and over again. It's trapped in the atmosphere. And it could be a negative. It could be negative. It could be positive. It could be something of, whatever. I don't know. But that's what I believe. It's some kind of mark of energy that has not left that area.
All right. Anthony, investigators say that these spirits don't interact with the living. Why do they separate residual from what they call intelligent hauntings?
Because an intelligent haunting can fuck with you. A residual haunting doesn't even know you're there. It does the same shit when it decides to appear. If it's going to walk down a hallway and enter a room, it's going to walk down a hallway and enter a room. It doesn't give a shit what happens. It doesn't matter what you try to say or do. It's always going to do it. An intelligent haunting is something that can talk back. You tell it to, turn the flashlight on and it will do so. Roll a ball on the floor, that sort of shit. It's just about the idea of interactivity.
Okay. Has anyone heard any famous cases about residual hauntings? Like, has anyone seen, have you experienced this yourself? I'm asking a general question for everybody.
I have not, no.
Big Joe, no, you have not. Roadblock?
In person, for me, myself, no. I could say just from thinking, I have heard of the stone tape theory, which is essentially what we're talking about. It's just another name for it, really. Residual haunting, I won't say is a new term to me, but it's not one I've heard often.
All right, Tony?
I've never experienced one, but I do know that one of the ones that comes to mind, I believe, is at the Myrtles plantation, and that's the story. And I could be wrong about this, but we did an episode on this a few years ago. That's the story of the gentleman was shot. I think it was the owner of the plantation's son was shot on the front steps, and then he made it up to like the 10th or 11th step inside the house where he died. So
yeah, I remember that story.
Yeah, so the story goes like, every once in a while you'll hear steps, and it always seems to stop at that step where he died. So that's the only one that comes to mind as I'm thinking about it.
Well, what's funny about this is with a residual haunting is it's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. What's funny is they find that it happens in houses that have been renovated, and the energy will continue to walk, and then sometimes it walks into a wall to go and find out later that that's where a door was. So that's what's odd about this stuff, that it does that. I remember one at Fort Ticonderoga. I saw the documentary about the place, and in the kitchen, this woman, like right on cue, would walk through the kitchen and through a wall, and they found out later that wall was never there. It was she was going into the next.
It used
room.
To be a door,
huh?
It used to be a door,
right? So I've heard different stories through the years, but that's the one that sticks out. The one at the Myrtles that Anthony said, that sticks out.
Well, before we get into like famous hauntings that could be residuals, so what exactly, like, if these aren't conscious ghosts, what are we really seeing? Is it a recording, a time loop? What can we classify this as?
Who knows? No one knows for sure. I believe it's energy that's trapped in time or trapped has gotten trapped for some reason. We don't know the reason. I mean, for this thing to continually play itself out over and over like a loop, over and over again, it would have to be some kind of energy that wasn't allowed to dissipate. Why? I couldn't tell you, and nobody can. I mean, there's no answer for it. I don't know. You guys have any answer for that?
I think I have one, not an answer, but a theory that I've read about, that residual hauntings are people who are trapped on Earth because they don't know they're dead and they're doomed to relive their final moments for all eternity. I don't know if you want to interpret that as a divine punishment or just like energy that didn't understand that it was no longer like the energy continued, but the bodies was destroyed type of thing. I don't know, but that's one of those theories out there that that I've heard.
Josh?
Tony's point, I really wouldn't go with that, only because of the fact, like, let's say it's a residual haunting and it's literally just a person walking through the house. They didn't die walking through the house, did they? Like, they walked, took a step, entered a room, had a heart attack, and then dropped. Like, is that
Well,
exactly what it's
who,
replaying every single
who
time?
knows? That's the problem.
That's
We
what I'm
don't know.
saying. For me, it's like I can't really go with it.
Like,
For me, it would be like, let's say a person has really strong ties to a house and they had really strong feelings for it, and say they got hit in the head and like they're on the floor and they know they're about to die because they're bleeding out, and they have a real strong sense, like their own body energy is like, no, I want to stay here, this is my home, I love it, I fought for it, I built it, those types of things. It's like a strong connection, I guess you could say.
to the moment.
Yeah, in the moment, in the energy, and some type of a psychic connection or something like that
Right.
is
I think I
something
have,
I would think of.
I think I have a counter argument for that though. So like, have you ever seen like in a monastery, like it's a picture of the floor where a monk prayed every single day and it left like the impression of his feet? Okay. I think it's more like, it's like that, but in a non-physical form, right? So say it's not so much like the person died just as they walked into a room or some place that used to be a room, but it's more like like this person paced a lot around their house. It was just like part of their routine. It becomes like, it's almost like just to get up and walk around. They did it so often in life, it becomes almost autonomous. So it's kind of like their energy, like not that they train themselves, but like the energy understands that root of the house. And it just, for whatever reason, is always on repeat.
Right. That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that, and I don't think it's a person that didn't, when they pass, they're being punished or whatever, because at that point to punish them, they'd have to know what's going on. These residual hauntings, most of them are the same thing all the time, every time they do it. A woman walks through it. So I don't think it's a punishment thing. I don't think I could be honest, I don't even think it's a spiritual thing. I think it's energy. I think it's some kind of energy that was trapped there that for whatever reason got trapped in that one area doing the same thing over and over again.
I
Not
guess,
that it was meant
but
to do it. Yeah.
I guess, but I think you would have to really define like what the idea of like punishment is, right? Like, I guess if you don't know you're doing it for eternity, that's just what is going to have to be every time. Maybe that is a form of punishment. And it's just like we would think that to knowingly do that. Now you're stuck there, and that's what eternity is for you. You have to walk these halls or up these steps or some stupid shit like that. That would be the terrible part. But if you don't even have a memory of doing it, it's just you're doing it because that's what has to be done for whatever reason. And that's what the punishment is. I think of like my favorite works of all time, novel wise, is the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. And spoiler alert, turn the fucking podcast off if you've never read it. It ends exactly where it begins. Like he gets to the top of the tower, he gets pushed through the door, and he winds up in the same moment where the series started. And it took Stephen King 40 years and 7.5 novels to get to that moment, and it just ends up right back where he was. And he ends the story the same way he begins it. The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed. The gunslinger has no knowledge that he had just went through that entire journey. And he wound up right in the back of the same place because God wanted him there for a reason. And it's up to you as the reader to think about what that reason could be. But that's where I'm drawing this idea from. Like, you're just on a loop. You don't know why. Maybe it's divine intervention. Maybe it's just energy on repeat.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, I want to talk more to the aspect of time. What does this say about time, though? Like, what can you say if these hauntings are real, like if these ghosts and spirits are a real thing? And, I know there's people who are skeptics and non-believers and stuff like that. What do you think that says about time? Is time linear? Is time, not, you know what I'm saying? Like, what does it say
About us?
about just time in general? Our knowledge of time. Can this,
Don't know time.
if we find something, if somehow we unlock what a residual haunting is, does that unlock something about time?
I don't know. That's a good question. But I mean, as far as mankind understanding time, we understand very little about what time is, because time is different everywhere. Time is different on how many different time zones on this planet.
Well,
Time-
no, we
judge
understand what
by
time
the-
zone is.
by the rise and set of the sun.
Yeah.
And when you're out in space, there is no rise and setting of the sun. So how does time pass out there? How do you
The
pass
same
through
way
time?
this time passes the same way there as it does here, because it's not so much about moment to moment, because you can keep track of that. Like, that's what clocks are for. You don't need to be in the sun or even see the sun to know what time it is, right? Because you can live at the North Pole. You get 6 months of darkness. It's pitch black at 2 p.m. We just know how to keep time because we've mapped it all out. But time does dilate based off speed, right? That's why it's light speed's the fastest thing you can go, just over 280,000 miles a second. So, like, the faster you go, what's the fucking thing? Sorry, it was a thought experiment. Like, if a set of twins, born and raised on Earth, one decides to go into space, one stays on Earth. He goes a light speed to, I don't know, a distant planet and comes back, light speed. He's still young, but the twin that stayed on Earth,
Long
aged.
gone.
Well, even long gone. You're right. He could be dead. Like, depending on how fast it takes to go to that planet and back. Because for us, we're watching him go, and we know how long it takes. For him, because he's going so fast, he experiences time slower, and by the time he comes back, everyone has aged except him. Weirdly enough, and they did a fantastic job explaining it, it's in the Disney Pixar movie Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear movie. Because in that story, he has to re-energize like a spaceship. And in order to do so, he's got to go light speed to a nearby star. He has to do it like 5 times. But every time he gets back to the Earth or wherever it is that they crash landed on, everyone he knows gets older and older and older. And it's almost heartbreaking because he stays the same age. So for everyone else, it's, he's staying the youngest. So as far as time being a factor, I don't know what we can learn from it, but it's definitely something to consider, I suppose, because it can be manipulated based off of speed.
Well, I mean, it was also explained not explained, but they did a good job showing it in Interstellar, the Matthew McConaughey movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't explained, but he went away, and when he came back, his daughter was like 40, and he was still the same age.
Well, she was
So-
older than that. She was dying. Like, she was old,
Yeah.
old lady, right? A really awesome thing about that movie, I know it's really not part of what we're talking about, but it was the first most accurate depiction of a black hole ever in cinema, right? It was so like the director had physicists like on staff to make sure they got it right. And when you look at it, like in the movie, it's a black hole, and they said, well, look at the black holes we're taking a picture of. And he's like, yeah, it don't look the same. He goes, but if you can edit the picture of the movie black hole, you put it on its side and you just blur it out, they become identical images almost. So although we still we don't have like an HD photo of what a black hole looks like in space. We've only started taking pictures of them. The one in Interstellar nails it. That's exactly what a black hole looks like in outer space when you're close enough to it to see it.
I got a question.
Okay.
With residual hauntings, any stories? Has anybody heard of it just stopping? In other words, it would say it happened, it continued on for a year, and then all of a sudden, just stopped. Is there any recorded evidence of that?
I don't know as far as where it's like it just stopped. I think people have just moved on. Like,
Yeah,
you could
I
have
don't think anyone's done any research on it long enough to dictate that information. Like they might have saw it once or twice and they were doing it for like 2 weeks and then they just fuck off back to Ohio or some shit and never try to record it again and they
Poor
don't know.
Ohio.
Or they
fuck
didn't like
Ohio.
contact
Fuck Ohio.
anybody else and tell them to double check it like, hey, is that haunting still happening?
Well,
At least I've
yeah.
never come across anything where they continued to research the same residual haunting. I've never seen it.
I have heard a story that a residual, I forget what, I think it was another plantation in the South.
Of course
That
it was.
Of course it was. They're full of
Call
dead
me.
people and ghosts and shit.
He will be
But-
Toby.
No. The residual haunting, when they heard it, and it wasn't often, but when they did hear it, it got lighter and lighter and lighter until it eventually, they're like, we haven't heard it in a long time. So the theory goes that it's kind of like, it's like the reverse of a Polaroid. Like, you know how like, it's just blank when it first prints and then you shake it to see the picture? It's like the energy is slowly dissipating until it just fades away or it stops completely. Or maybe it's still doing it, but it's like it's not strong enough or the energy isn't strong enough for us to register it with our senses. Right? It's such a nightmare to think about because
in terms of energy, if you want to think about it in a certain way, it could be that the energy was strong enough to replay that haunting for a limited amount of time, and then it dissipates and goes into other things.
right, think of it like a half-life. You know what I mean? Like cells and shit, like nuclear energy or whatever. Plutonium has a half-life of however many thousand years or whatever. So it takes a long time for that to like become safe. Like Chernobyl, like there's what is it, 100,000 years before that area will be able to be populated again because it's just so radiated. I think it might be something like that where the residual haunting just fades into the ether.
Well, if you go scientifically speaking, and you go by that, I mean, is it a theory? But the energy cannot be destroyed nor created. Like energy is just a thing, right? That's how I think that.
That's not a theory. That's a law. Energy
A law,
cannot
yeah.
be created nor destroyed. That's a real thing.
Yeah, it's only
so
transferred.
when you sit there and think, so is these people, whatever they are, because we don't know if they are people or not, if their spirits have not transferred their energy, what we have to figure out. Obviously, we're not going to do it, but we as a people have to figure out why that energy is just replaying. That's $1 million question. See, something like we're going to go into now famous cases. One, okay, Anthony, you want to say something?
Sorry. Well, yeah, what I was gonna say is like paranormal studies is kind of like the opposite of like scientific studies because like in science you don't need to know the why, you need to know the how, right? If you're gonna land a rocket on the moon, you need to know like the math in order to get that done. You need to know the how. The why can we land? That's philosophical. No one gives a shit about that. But you still use the same tools in paranormal research. But in the paranormal research, you're going why. You're not saying so like how. Yes, is also important, but the why is such a bigger factor. I think when it comes to the paranormal studies because we don't understand the why about anything. We don't understand the how, but like they go hand in hand with regular science. The why doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
All right. So here's another famous case, right? And I think we've covered this when we went into what season that we talked about St. Augustine and Myrtle's Plantation. That was like the Halloween season, right? That was season like 9 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, we've only been doing this for 5 years.
Yeah. So when we went into that, we talked about Gettysburg.
Right.
And in Gettysburg, there are residual hauntings. If people have video recorded this of ghosts in the fields just going back and forth. They're marching in the mist. And this question is for you: what's the most convincing evidence you've heard or seen from the battlefield on the internet, at least?
Oh, there's so many pictures of like Gettysburg ghosts in the regalia. Like it's there's so many like versions of that, and I think that's obviously one of the more distinct things when it comes to like ghost hunting. That's like the holy grail. You want to be able to not just see a thing, but to immediately understand what that thing is or who it looks like. You know what I mean? Or like when you see a definite shape, you're like, "Oh, that's really cool." But when you can also like make out features like eyes or a beard or something like that, like that's when it gets really interesting. And just pulling up some pictures of like ghosts of Gettysburg, like I see shapes in the woods and not so much like, oh, that could be a tree or that could be a rock. It's a definite like solid human looking shape. I mean, all of these are so like some of them are just a ball of light, and some of them are just like full figured things, full figured apparitions. I fuck with Gettysburg being haunted 100%.
Joshua, how about you? Have you seen Gettysburg ghosts and those videos?
I've never actually dove into that. I have seen like random photos once in a while. It was like, very old, grainy photos. I've never really like dug deep into it though, I'll be honest. Like I know of it, but that's about as like far as I got.
All right. Dan, being as old as you are, you've been to a few historic sites
I don't know if
yourself.
I want to answer that.
Hey, yo.
Can a place's violent history, again, we talked about this in last season when we talked about these places that have violent histories. Can a place's violent history make people think that they're hearing muskets and footsteps psychologically?
You got to give me the second part again.
Can a place's violent history make people think that they're hearing muskets and footsteps? Meaning it's not really there. They think they're hearing it because of the history of that nation.
That's a good question, John. I don't dive into this stuff enough to know if you can hear that, but if it is, to me, that would be a residual haunting.
No, I'm saying like what I think this question is really meant is like they're not hearing it actually.
Right.
They think they're hearing it because they want to hear it.
Well, that would be, I guess that would be tricks of their own brain. I guess if you want to hear something bad enough, you can hear it. I mean, and I'll give you an example. Okay. About 3 years ago, we went to where they held Woodstock. Okay. And I remember walking onto the field and just sitting down. And I swear to you, I heard the sounds of that day. It was my own mind doing it. And I know that. But it was, I mean, I'm trying to experience what was being experienced that day and have heard the soundtrack over and over ad nauseum. I can hear that in my mind. I wasn't hearing anything, but I was hearing them playing, and I wanted to hear them play because I wanted to experience that, vicariously from where I was at the time. So I can understand that would happen. But as far as hearing something that's not there, well, that's time for a loony bin at that point. That's what
Anthony, you think Dad's right on that, or is it more of people actually hearing things, or do they want to hear them?
I think it's a combination of both, right? I think you have to. Okay, if you want to hear something, you will make any excuse to say you heard something. It can be something very small because you believe in it so much. You really need to have a lot of integrity to be able to walk out and go, I tried, and it wasn't there, and be honest with it, because some people want that so much, right? And the guys I watch, RLM, they did that investigation, right? At the end of it all, after spending the night there and doing the investigation in the house, they had a couple of things, but they were packing up. And the leader, Mike, he wanted to go inside one more time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I just want to go in by myself. It's the last time I'm going to do this. The only time I'm going to do this, I just want a moment in this house by myself. And he walks in, and his biggest fear was being touched or poked or like something pulling on him, not because that's what he wanted, because that is what he wanted. His fear was he had to go outside and look at everybody and go, guys, I felt something. And nobody would believe him because no one has the right to believe. It's like it's a subjective thing that happens to you. You
Mm-hmm.
got to be smart. So I'm bringing that up to say that like you got to be smart to know that like you're trying to hear something, but you don't make yourself hear or see something.
Okay, Joshua, sorry, have you ever been in a place or something like that?
Doing the podcast?
You know, who's been, have you ever been in a place where you felt that maybe you could hear something like that?
Me personally, no, I have not. But to comment on what Tony was saying, I think it would be possible to hear noises only on the simple fact that your brain is a powerful thing, even if you don't know it. So, say you're in that situation where you're trying to find a residual haunting and you see it, and you actually physically you're there and you see it replay a couple of times. So what I think believe that I believe could happen is like, say it was just a person walking across. There's no footsteps to be heard, but you're thinking about it and you're looking at it, and your brain could subconsciously input the sound of footsteps going across. And your
Right.
brain would possibly do that. And the same would be to like if you go to a place where there was a war, and maybe there might be a residual haunting there, and like your brain can fill in those noises even without you realizing, because I'm pretty sure almost everybody on this planet have seen war movies, the old school war movies about World War One, Two, all that, Civil War stuff like that. So seeing something out there, and even in that situation, your brain could possibly fill it in just the same way your brain can fill in like your eyesight. Like if you're looking at something specific, you're only focusing on that one thing, but you can still technically see the big picture
No,
of
I
everything you're
agree with
looking at because your
I,
brain
I
can fill it in.
I agree with what you're saying. Yes, but like there is like the physical aspect as well. Like yeah, your brain's filling all that in. You want to hear something, but you have to keep in mind that, which is number one why recording devices are so important, because you might have thought you heard something and when you play back nothing's there. Obviously you didn't hear something, right? It's like you can think about, your brain can put fill in the blanks, you can hear it in your mind, but you're not physically hearing it. And that's what I think a lot of people will bullshit themselves because they go, I heard it, when you didn't physically hear it. Like audio, like sound travels on waves. It hits our ears. We interpret those sounds with the organs of our head. Like it's a physical thing. We can't see it, but it is like there's a physical thing that happens in order for auditory to function. So that isn't happening, right? On, if I'm standing at Woodstock and I'm trying to hear the music, I'm not physically making the sound waves around me turn into the music so I can physically hear it. And I think that's where the problem lies. A lot of people bullshit themselves because they're going, I saw it. I could hear it. I hear all of it. Like, no, you're not hearing it. It's in your fucking head. You got to be smarter than that.
Real quick though, in that scenario, if you're high enough, yeah, you would hear the music. I'm just saying, you're gonna hear something.
There is one story. I've never heard this story, but has anyone heard of the Anne Bolan story and the Tower of London?
Yes, I think I have. The name is very familiar, and I want to hear what you have to say.
All right, so this is a real thing. Apparently it goes with her head tucked underneath her arm and other tales of the ghostly Anne Bolan. So here's just a little backstory on it. If legends are true, Anne Bolan's ghost must be the most traveled ghost in Britain, if not the whole world. In researching Anne's afterlife, this person found 7 locations where her spirit is said to walk. Hever Castle, her childhood home; Blinkling Hall, her alleged birthplace; the Tower of London, where she was executed; Hampton Palace and Windsor Castle, where Anne and Henry resided during their marriage, Sally Church in Norfolk, and Marwell Hall in Hampshire. But let's get the backstory. That's where she's haunted. Sorry. Few
And
names.
she's been seen in all those places?
Yes. Few names in
That bitch gets
history.
around.
Few names in history carry the weight of tragedy and intrigue, like Anne Bolan, the ambiguous queen whose love for King Henry VIII reshaped England's destiny, only to end in her brutal beheading on May 19th, 1536. Her life, a whirlwind of passion, betrayal, and political upheaval, seems to have left an eternal mark, with her ghost reportedly haunting some of Britain's most storied sites. From the Tower of London, where she faced the executioner's sword, to Hever Castle, her childhood sanctuary, and spectral figure, only often headless or cloaked in white silk, is said to glide through shadowy corridors, her sorrowful gaze evoking centuries of loss. What do we take on that? Does Anne Bolan's ghost count to anyone here as a residual haunting? Dad, we'll start with you.
I can't say that's residual, Joe. I think I'd have to do a little more research on that. Excuse me for my voice, folks. I'm not feeling too good. I don't believe that would be a residual haunting, only because it sounds to me like just some kind of intelligence behind it. But no, I don't think it's residual at all in nature.
All right, Tony.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't know. I've never heard of a ghost being in multiple places at once. Like, unless someone was like murdered and dismembered, and like someone buried a hand here and a foot there and a rib over here, like that I could see. Because I know you're giving me a fucking face. I get that. Stay right here because I have something. Fuck you. I actually have a story. No, I don't have a foot. I'm saying I actually have a fucking story that this pertains to. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Skip me, and I'll let you know when I have the story.
All right, Joshua.
Okay, so to what you said, Joey, I personally, I mean, just by the definition of residual haunting, I would not call it that. I would call that just a regular ghost. Like it gets around somehow. Because I would feel like a residual haunting would be something you're repeating in the same exact place over and over again, not in different locations. Like that defies the definition, basically.
But that's what this haunting does. In each location, it's the same looking ghost, headless or shut up, I'm talking. Headless or pale, and she is not interacting with anybody, and she's just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I don't know, but in different locations, that's kind of weird. I've never heard of an instance like that, like whatsoever.
Yeah, me either.
Usually one ghost in one location, that's it. It'll repeat or not, and then just fuck off.
All right, Anthony.
Okay, so this is gonna sound fucking funny, but this is how you know that we were born to do this. I have had this book since I was like 10 years old. This is the Scary Stories for Sleepover Almanac. It was published in 1997. That's how long I've had this fucking book. Almost 30 years.
Why is there a white spot on the front?
So
is that what you teach the children when they're in your basement?
No, I read them other things. The Ghostly Flight 401, right? On the evening of December 29th, 1972, Eastern Flight 401 radioed the control tower at Miami that was making its landing approach. The flight thus far had been perfect. Captain Bob Loft and Second Officer Don Repo were guiding the big plane's descent when the pilots discovered a problem with the landing gear warning light. It seemed to be a minor problem, and it meant circling again. They worked on the landing gear. They didn't realize that it had been losing altitude. When they finally noticed it, it was too late, and the plane crashed into the Everglades, killing the crew and 100 passengers, right? Bodies were everywhere. Captain Loft survived for about an hour, but then died in the cockpit. Don Repo was alive when they pulled him out, but died in the hospital about 30 hours after the crash. Okay. After the accident, to save money, Eastern Airline officials decided to salvage the parts from the wreckage and use them in other planes. It was then that many Eastern crew members began having strange experiences. For almost 2 years, pilots and flight attendants reported seeing the ghosts of Loft, Repo, and some unidentified flight attendants from 401 on various Eastern flights. The ghosts were mostly seen on planes containing parts from from the plane that had crashed, but some were sighted on other planes as well. Several times, Captain Loft was seen sitting in the ghost's first class section. One of these occasions, a flight attendant asked why his name was not on her passenger list. Her question was greeted with silence. The attendant went to the captain for advice, and when he recognized it was Loft, the ghost disappeared. I think that's full of shit. But I do, and there's more examples. I think most of that is, it's for children, so it's really full of shit. But Eastern Airlines did crash on Teresa's birthday in 1972.
Mhm.
And the flight crew has been seen in other planes because they used them in other planes that were built. It's on Wikipedia as well. So at least this is not just complete horseshit.
No, what you're talking about is the ghost of Flight 401. And
That's what I
yes,
said.
I know that. And what you're saying is that there have been documented evidence or documented stories of this stuff actually happening. What's the fact dance for? What is that?
I'm trying to figure out what the fuck you're saying. Like, I just said all that. Like, yes, you're right.
I'm trying to
Way
get
to
to
go,
a
buddy.
fine, no problem. I won't speak.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck your point was, because you didn't actually say anything.
Well, the Charlie Kirk episode tomorrow is gonna be fun.
No, I'm like, listen, I just described, is that it? Flight 401. You went, yeah, what you're describing is Flight 401. And I went, I know. Thanks for clarifying that up.
Look at him.
So anyway, we were talking about ghosts being seen in multiple places. That story reminds me of Anne Bolan, reminds me of Captain Law from Flight 401.
So what you're suggesting is maybe her ghost is haunting, or this residual haunting is happening at different locations because maybe something that she's attached to is still at those locations.
Maybe, or maybe they were just such a powerful thing to her that, that's where her ghost kind of would naturally go.
Okay. So,
I mean, at least with 401, you could say that they died on the plane. You know what I mean? Like, that's where they're always going to be on the plane, which sucks because who knows? Probably nothing but peanuts left at this point.
okay. So we're gonna go into the skeptic angle. That's what we love to do. So let's get technical. Investigators can't interview a loop, correct? So what tools help? Does an EMF meter help? Audio recordings, infrared cameras? What do you think actually could help understand these ghosts or these hauntings a little bit more?
I don't know. I don't think the technology's out there yet. And I think we're a long way from the technology being out there. I mean, we can record EVPs, and yeah, you can record some hauntings or something, but there's always going to be somebody to chop it down saying it isn't it, it could be it, it's not, So there's nothing definitive that you got out there right now that it's going to be a matter of interpretation, whether you want to believe it or not.
I think a good tool you can use, and it's not like technologically a real tool, but it's just like the idea of constant vigilance and record keeping, right? Because if you can identify a pattern, you can then start to predict where or when it's going to happen again, right? I mean, we didn't have the technology to discover the planets Uranus and Neptune because they were too far away to see with telescopes in the 1800s.
Fuck those planets.
But I know. But William Herschel was able to discover those planets because he saw things and he was able to track a pattern. And he said we should be able to see it when it's at its closest and actually see it in a telescope on this day. And it was like a year, a year and a half or so, he predicted it. And that day, they literally they pointed the telescope at the right place. He's like, I don't understand. We don't see it. And he was like, oh shit, I was one number off. Move the telescope that much over. And when they did, there was the planet Uranus. So if you can keep an eye out and an ear out and just keep a living record of when something happens, you can take that data and try to figure out if there's a pattern, and if so, when is that next occurrence going to be? Because then you can set shit up like recording devices. You can fuck it. You can even invite, hey, I'll sell tickets to this shit. Look, it's going to move in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. That'll be $100, please. Everyone loves spooky shit.
Okay.
I understand the last bit was satirical, but I mean that's a solid idea, though. You know, keeping data and understanding what the fuck's going on.
I mean, technically, he's not wrong. People would
No,
pay to
he's
see
not
shit
wrong.
anyway.
I know I'm not wrong.
He's not wrong at all, unfortunately.
Three wasted words.
Could simple acoustics or geology explain everything? Like underground water or vibrations causing people to feel the presence? Or do you think this is actual, like, real energy, real ghosts?
Well, an underground water or like an earthquake or some shit like that's not gonna be responsible for something like footsteps.
Yeah,
Where
it
it's
wouldn't
steady.
influence. It would not influence that at all.
No, like certain of these things are very specific. It's a knock, or it's footsteps, or it's this pattern it takes as it walks through the house. Like maybe to make you feel some way, sure, but if you're not seeing anything, then it's not a residual haunting. You're just feeling like creepy, like kids in my basement.
Okay. The stone tape theory is a pseudoscientific claim that ghosts and hauntings occur when traumatic events are imprinted on certain stones or other materials and are subsequently replayed, similar to a magnetic tape recording. The idea of materials holding information from emotional events aligns with views of the 19th century intellectualists and psychic researchers such as Charles Babbage, Eleanor Sidgwick, and Edmund Gurney.
Can you dumb that down to like stupid for me? Because I didn't like. Are you saying that rocks can hold a message like a VCR? I mean, a VHS.
It's the same thing as the energy leaving its trace right in a certain spot, like with ghosts and the residual hauntings. It's imprinted because of the intense emotions and the energy that was felt in that location at the same exact time.
All
And
right, I
then
get you.
it repeats itself like the hauntings.
So, like, these crystals and shit like that?
Yeah, like there could have been mountains where someone got maliciously murdered, and then for some reason you see that spirit always walking towards the mountain and then disappearing. That's probably where it died. So that's like the same concept. It was popularized by the fictional ghost story film The Stone Tape that was broadcasted on BBC television in 1972.
Oh, good heavens!
Yes.
And then there's Anthony. All
This is
right.
quite strange, Bernard. Most troublesome, Hendrik.
So let's talk about big picture stuff. If a residual haunting is a playback with no awareness, is that motherfucker an actual ghost? Or are we talking about time folding in on itself? Like, is this a ghost?
My opinion, no.
Not
My
a ghost.
opinion is trapped energy. That's what I'm going to energy that somehow was imprinted on that area, whether through whatever means, I don't know. I mean, it could be environmental means. It could be, energy that's just been trapped in that area. I don't know.
Tony?
I'm gonna say it fits the definition of a ghost. It does. I mean, yeah, we're interpreting like, okay, maybe that's not a ghost, but it's still like that energy is still taking the form of that person, or it's still like doing the thing that person did. So there's like, I don't think there's an active consciousness or even like an echo of consciousness. But if you're gonna copy something, it's gotta be based off of like it's always based off a person. I've never heard of a residual haunting of like a pet. Like Dad doesn't like it when the dog barks at night as it is. Imagine if that cocksucker was barking and it was a ghost. Dad would hang himself.
No,
He's gonna join the dog just so he can kill the dog to death.
if you watch the show, I think it's The Haunting or A Haunting. I forgot which one it is, but it's on the Animal Planet. They do talk about ghost dogs that are like
That's a
residual.
great series. The Haunted you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great series. And yeah, there is the whole premise of the show is basically about pets that will leave energy, psychic energy, or will come back as a ghost or a spirit. And I know douchebag's already laughing because he doesn't believe in basically anything.
No.
I wonder when he looks in the fucking mirror, does he believe that? Does he believe what an ugly motherfucker he is? I don't know. Because it's not absurd.
right? It's like they're innocent. Why would they be trapped here? Like, go to heaven or hell or emerge into the ether. Like, what is the point of like having a dog spirit?
Are
I
they
can
still
understand, like,
are they still energy?
Do we know what
yeah,
happened?
I get that.
What
I
if
thought all dogs go to heaven. That's my point.
Fuck that movie.
Fuck you. It's my favorite movie. And by the way, heaven's very efficient because dog heaven is also cat hell. It's one place. Very
except if
efficient.
it's your cat would eat its way through heaven. Okay.
There's not a fucking cloud that can hold his fat ass.
Where is he tonight?
Okay.
He fucked off upstairs.
Okay.
All right. So however you explain it, stone memory, time slip, pure imagination, whatever the fuck you explain it, these echoes of the past refuse to fade. If you got your own ghosts on repeat story, please send it in to us on our Instagram or TikTok, which is this real? I think it's Is This Real PC that we are now,
So
or Is This Real
We'll
Podcast?
figure it out.
It's one of those. Next week,
Just find us somehow.
look, we're the only one that is this real, okay? So fuck off. Next week, we're talking about crisis apparitions. Do we all know
What the fuck?
Do we all know what crisis apparitions are?
I've never heard that, but it sounds interesting.
That you've heard it, you've just never heard the term. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right.
So imagine
They're hired by the government when they stage a fake attack.
shut up. Imagine
When they
No,
start,
no,
when
no,
they stage
no.
it, when they
This is not the
stage a
forum
fake
for
one.
this. This is not the forum for this. This is not the.
imagine seeing a loved one at the exact moment they're in danger or even
Gettysburg.
passing away. Crisis apparitions, they're visions that appear out of nowhere across miles across time. On next week's episode, Is This Real? We dive into the creepiest true accounts ever recorded, explore the science and the spooky theories behind them, and ask the ultimate question, is this real? Don't miss it. Subscribe now and join us for more of season 17. Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Adios, motherfuckers.
And
Good night,
remember,
everybody.
question everything. Good night.
Good night, Josh. Good night, Anthony.
Night
Night,
job,
Dad.
boy.